Hello there, duelists. Sky Pirates are cool, right? Well, that should make today's deck the coolest around, as we have Fur Hires on the playmat. The archetype Fur Hire was released alongside Sky Strikers back in 2018, and was immediately discarded in favour of the Link 1 meta threat of the Strikers. There have been dribs and drabs of support for Hire since we kind of originally had their release, but nothing really that's pushed the deck anywhere other than casual. So, today we're hiring these furries and checking out if they're worth their price. Okay, so straight into the monsters for hire, obviously. Okay, that's the last time I'm going to do that. So first up, we've got 3 Filo. So all of the Fur Hires that are less than level 4 have got an effect where they can special summon a different Fur Hire from the hand, and that's a once per turn effect. And then they've got another effect, the level 4 lowers, when a monster is summoned when they're on the field, and that's also a once per turn effect. So Filo can special summon one, and I'm going to stop using the special summon from hand effect from now. I'm just going to mention the secondary effect, and then when a monster is summoned for this, you can special summon a Fur Hire monster from your graveyard, and it gets put to the bottom of the deck when it leaves the field. So this is a good way of kind of accruing an advantage, especially when you've already kind of burned through some of your plays. It's also level 1 and you've got 0 attack, which makes it quite versatile in terms of kicking off some of your plays. It's, in my opinion, it's definitely worth the 3 of. From there, we're playing 3 Beat. So Beat's kind of, I don't really want to say heart and soul, but it's your searcher. So when another monster is summoned, or another Fur Hire monster is summoned, should I say, you get to search your deck for a Fur Hire monster. From there, we're playing a bunch of one-offs, and again, you could tweak the ratios how you want. I was playing a few 2-offs and a few, one-offs and stuff like that, but I think I kind of fell on the kind of toolboxy nature of it, so you kind of get the cards that you want. So I'm running 1 Donpa, 1 Helmer, and 1 Seal. So when another monster is summoned for Donpa, you get to pop a face-up card on the field. When another monster is summoned for Helmer, you get to draw and discard a card. And then for Seal, if a monster is summoned, you get to add a Fur Hire monster back from your graveyard to your hand. So, these are all fairly versatile effects. And then we've got another couple of one-offs. So we've got 1 Bravo and then 1 Sage. So I suppose we'll go for Bravo first. So Bravo, when another monster is summoned, you can make all Fur Hire monsters gain 500 attack, which is not great, but it's kind of versatile in terms of the fact that it's a reptile, which means it's searchable via other mechanisms, not just via beat, which gives you some flexibility in terms of some of the plays that you can make. And then for the level 5 or hires, I'm running 2 Rafale and 1 Wiz, which I think are quite low on the ratios, but they tend to be huge bricks in hand, and there's not really, there are ways obviously of getting them out of that one, because you've got your lower Fur Hire monsters, but I really, once you put one of these on board, you're kind of stopping the chain. So each of the monsters Fur Hire that are level 5 or higher have got kind of a summon effect and then an effect on field. So Rafale, you can excavate cards you control from the top of your deck up to the number of other Fur Hire monsters you control and add one of them to hand, which is great. So he's an immediate +1, and depending on how many monsters you got on board, you can sculpt, scalp the top of your deck for a useful card. And then you can discard a Fur Hire card from hand to negate a monster effect. Wiz has kind of got a very similar negation effect, but it's for spell and trap cards. And it's also, you gain 500 life points for each monster Fur Hire when it's summoned, which is a bit turd, but it's okay. So yeah, I think there are a number of other monsters that I had considered running. I think that the diner, I think, has become more relevant than it ever was. So that's one that's kind of floated in and out of the build, but I'm sticking for this for now. I think it's probably the most consistent I've had it. From there, we're running 3 Parallel Exceed. So this is just a really good way of putting out monsters. Get a Link 1 on board, go to Parallel Exceed, and then go to basically gives you 3 materials on board, which you kind of need to get your ball rolling. From there, running some hand traps, so running 3 Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler is level 1, so it's quite useful in terms of the versatility that it provides, but you could easily swap this out for Ash Blossom or whatever else you want to do. But I think it keeps the cost down of the deck, and I'm trying to keep this reasonably budget because I think Fur Hires shouldn't be a, splashing forbidden droplets for, $300 for a playset or whatever it is. It's just I just don't think it's that sort of deck. It's more casual, let's say. And then finally, I'm running 3 Ghost Ogre. So Ghost Ogre, I find is a difficult hand drop to actually use effectively, and it floats in and out of relevance. But I think the destruction is a clear plus when you're playing Fur Hires, because you want to be able to be destroying your opponent's cards on their side, on their turn, in order to to maximise the advantage that you're accruing. Okay, and onto the spells and traps. So we're running 3 Rookie Fur Hire, which is I think one of the more recent cards that came out, but really adds a lot of flexibility to the deck. So you can tribute a monster and then special summon one Fur Hire monster from your deck who's 1 level higher or 1 level lower than the tributed monster. You can't declare an attack other than with Fur Hire monsters if you use this effect, but I think a lot of the time, you're kind of using this on your first turn to maybe dodge effect negation or whatever it is. And the fact that it's tributing any monster means it's very flexible. I think this card is very underrated, and I have seen it be run at 2, but I just think it's great in hand. It's really good. I mean, again, the once per turn nature of it does stint it a little bit. I'd really like it to be more than that, but it's a quick play, so you can use it at your opponent's turn to trigger some of your effects and stuff like that. It's just an all-round, I would say, a good addition, and I think that anything less than 3 is wrong, in my humble opinion. From there, we're playing 3 Mayhem Fur Hire, so this is our Monster Reborn. It's a bit sad that it's got to go in defense position, but you win some, you lose some. And then it's also a quick play, so you can use it on your opponent's turn. The thing with these is that because they're Fur Hire cards, you can discard them for Wiz or Rafale, which is obviously quite good if you have multiples in hand. It's a good way of kind of using them, as resource. From there, I'm playing 3 Pot of Desires. I had considered Pot of Extravagance, and I have tested it with that. I think that Desires is actually the better one in this deck. Most of the cards that you've got in your main deck, you run 3 of the ones that you actually care about. It can really hurt if you banish 2 Rafale, but I think that you really want to be making your play, then playing Pot of Desires to kind of follow that up. Obviously, you don't always have that chance, but I think that's the way that's the optimal way of playing. Now I'm running a lot of one-offs. So we're playing 1 Sky Striker Mobilize Engage and the Hornet drones that goes alongside it. This just puts 2 monsters on board with different types, and it just gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of making your plays without having to kind of commit that normal summon. You've got 1 for 1, which you really don't want to get ashed, but I think it's worth the trade-off. From there, we're playing 1 Reasoning, which, I don't know, I go in and out of liking Reasoning, because I was playing Emergency Teleport to get out Ghost Ogre and Snow Rat a bit, especially when that's gone to 2, so you could argue that might be better. But then Filo likes having cards in graveyard and stuff, so, I flip-flop. But I think Reasoning's not a bad card, and it's just getting monsters on board. The same with Monster Reborn and Instant Fusion. Instant Fusion also acts as kind of like I suppose, a guarantee that you're not going to get disrupted as well in this deck, because we're playing it with Millennium-Eyes. From there, I'm playing a couple of consistency boosters in Reinforcements of the Army, which is just your 4th beat, and then 1 Upstart Goblin and 1 Called by the Grave. Okay, and on to the extra deck. So, we're playing 1 Millennium-Eyes Restrict as our instant fusion target, 1 King of the Feral Imps, and 1 Dugares the Timeless as our kind of, I suppose, parallel exceed targets, I would say. So, a Millennium-Eyes Restrict, if your opponent activates a card or effect, you can grab a card from the graveyard, and a monster from the graveyard, and equip it to Millennium-Eyes Restrict, and that monster's effect is negated, which means that hand traps and stuff like that you can prevent. So, I think the main one is, Effect Veiler. If you get hit by Effect Veiler, you're in serious trouble on the normal summon. Ash Blossom can also hurt a lot. Even Ghost Ogre really hurts. So, even anything to prevent that is going to be a big win. Number 60, Dugares the Timeless. So he means that you can, use, a Link 1, Parallel Exceed, and that will give you all the materials that you need for Folgo, which is great, because it means that you're able to get out Folgo, who's, I wouldn't say the easiest card to get out, And then King of the Feral Imps is just a way of searching Bravo, the fighter for hire, which just sometimes it just comes up. But I would say that's definitely a flex spot. You could easily move that around for, maybe you want some disruption for Parallel XE that stays there, or maybe you just want some more link options. The rest of the cards that I'm running are link monsters. So I'm running one Salamangreat Almiraj, one Linkuriboh. So these are kind of our starters for, the normal summon. So, any of your hand traps and any of the small, or a lot of the smaller Fur Hire monsters go to Almiraj, and then a load of the level 1s can go to Linkuriboh. You probably could just run the Almiraj, but I quite like having the flexibility of having both of them. You do have to be a little bit careful if you want to go to Folgo with these two, because Parallel Exceed is also a Cyverse monster. From there, we're running Kagari, which adds back the Hornet drones, and then the Kaina, I'm butchering that, probably whatever. You could run the wind one, which I can't remember the name of right now, but basically it's just so that you can go to Kagari, add back the Hornet drones, then go to a Sky Striker monster that points downwards, so that you can get that effect from Parallel Exceed. So engage plus Parallel Exceed means that you've got Folgo basically. From there, the Link 2s, so I'm running one IP Masquerena, one Knightmare Cerberus, and one Knightmare Phoenix. So, because of Folgo, you kind of want to destroy stuff, which is why I've got Cerberus in here, because Cerberus can sometimes mean that you can trigger Folgo more easily than, if you were going for using Knightmare Unicorn. So it's just a bit of flexibility. From there, running 3 Link 3s, so we're running 2 Folgo, and the 1 Knightmare Unicorn. So Knightmare Unicorn, obviously just a discard to spin, whereas this Phoenix Cerberus is a discard to pop a spell trap or to pop a monster in the main monster zone, which is something I always forget with Cerberus. So obviously Unicorn's got a lot more flexibility, although it does target, so you have got to be a bit careful. Folgo is really the cornerstone of this entire deck. So he's got 3 monsters with different types as his requirements to get him out. So you got to be thinking about what you're doing. And you really don't want to be using, anything that would stop you from summoning Rafale. So, I think you've got to be careful is what I'm saying. I mean, you've got no other dragons in the deck, so, chances are you're fine to pluck Rafale. So when he's summoned, you can special summon a Fur Hire monster from your deck, who's not the type of the monsters that you use to summon him. And then if a card your opponent controls is destroyed, you can draw a card. And if you control 3 Fur Hire cards, then you can draw an extra 2 cards. So he gets 3 draws if you manage to destroy a card with 3 Fur Hire monsters on board. Which I wouldn't say is the easiest thing, but it's when you get it off, it's so good. And then we're running a couple of Link 4s. So we're running 1 Apollousa, Bow the Goddess, and 1 Borrowload Dragon. So Apollousa is kind of like, again, a flex spot, but I think you can easily go to Folgo and Apollousa if you kind of get the right kind of hand. And then Borrowload is, this deck has a real tough time against Dragoon, and Borrowload is the easiest way I've found to kind of get out of it. But if you've got any better opinions, then, shoot me up. But yeah, because you could run, Utopia the Lightning or something like that, Utopia Double. I don't know, I'm not quite sure, I haven't quite figured that out yet, but for now, I think Borrowload, but again, I think it's definitely not a necessary card to, if you want to build the deck. Okay, so let's give these mercenaries a rating. Fur Hire still have a very real weakness to disrupting the normal summon, something that the archetype still needs support from outside their own cards to deal with. If you can get set up, you can definitely put up a few disruptions for your opponent, and getting Folgo's full effect off more than once is almost certainly game winning just by drawing so many cards. Unfortunately, getting Folgo out is actually quite tough just for the archetype inherently. So with that said, it's a 2 for relevance, sadly. I do think the deck has got more fun as time's gone on. The extra options the deck has can add real flexibility to the plays. Rookie especially helps with this. So it's a 4 for the fun factor. I've estimated the price of this deck at about $175 from TCG Player, which isn't great for the power level, but it's not bad. I think Fur Hires remain one of the best options for newer players. So, would you hire these pirates or pass on the furries for a more serious option? Thanks for watching.